Hi, this is the Ivy League Astrologer with Vedic Pisces for January 2015. I'm working on my sound issues because I can hear that it's really kind of quiet, and I've been playing around with different things. I'm hoping that I may have gotten to something better here, so if you have any feedback about that, I would appreciate it. Hopefully, yeah, you can just hear me a little bit better. Okay, so Vedic Pisces for January 2015. It looks like you are either coming out of a period of rest or in a period of rest. The first card out is the Four of Swords. And I feel like, sorry, I looked up and I was like, I'm really close. You probably don't need me to be that close. I feel like you're making peace with your secrets or something. I feel like you're praying. I feel like you are praying for change, for a new path out of where you have been that has ended in a dead end. I feel like you are not so much looking for a way out, but as I said, praying for a new light. Because I feel like you can't get yourself out of this situation, that you need grace in order to move past it, or to move into something new and more positive for you, to move into something with life, with possibilities. So I feel like you're less inclined to charge around acting like you know what you're doing. You're less inclined to act against your better judgment or against your more deeply held inner beliefs, to just have activity for activity's sake. And maybe while you're resting, maybe it's like, yeah, this is an odd placement for the Tower, because it's like, while you're resting, while you're being quiet, yeah, I think that's what it is. While you're being quiet, suddenly some old, long-held structure just completely falls apart. It's almost like all you have to do is wait for it, in a way, is just be still enough to feel it, and all of a sudden something big within you just comes tumbling down, which is actually a beautiful thing. It actually allows for new life, new growth, pretty immediately afterwards, It's like there's this big, sudden sort of sobbing realization is how I feel about that. Like, it's almost like you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, like you had just some kind of crazy realization, and you have like a lot of emotion about it, but then it's like it's gone as soon as the morning comes or something, or you're off on a new path almost immediately, is how I feel about that. And it's exciting. Yeah, kind of getting the same vibe as I did for Capricorn here a little bit, where, you're off on a new path, but it doesn't mean it's the end to fighting necessarily. But here, actually, I'm feeling more of a sense of there's some like cleansing that needs to happen through possibly some sharp words or some things that you wish you didn't have to say but have to be said, or you wish you didn't have to hear in some cases but have to be put out into the open. It's like the cutting away of the veil of the last things that are keeping you in a place where you don't want to be. And it takes a lot of strength to do this, but you are equipped with that strength this month. You can do that. You can hear it, or you can say it. Whatever needs to happen so that a path can be cleared can happen this month. And then again, there is movement. There's a healing between you and another person that maybe you didn't think was going to come to pass. Maybe it was a situation that you felt like was too broken too far out of line for it to be brought back. But there's a healing in that this month. And it's not a small healing. It's a really big deal. It's a really big deal. Yeah, it's like all these structures that you thought were so permanent, that were keeping you apart from someone, just turn into sand. Like they just crumble, or they're able to crumble. And it's like, it's like the outer, it may still look sort of insurmountable or strong, but it's like a sandcastle. It's like the first wave, and in this case, it'd be like the first wave of love or understanding, or the first wave of generosity is going to sweep that down. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on. This is a really heavy month, and not heavy in a bad way, just very karmic, I think. Basic in terms of like your basic in the sense of like your blood and bones and sinews or something, which I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but it just feels like there is an understanding of not just yourself, but of the world that is coming into better view this month, and it arms you for the future. It makes you brave, even if you're uncertain of where it's going. It's like feeling like there is a path for you that you weren't fully aware of before, or that you didn't quite believe in that before, but suddenly you're feeling like, no, I've actually really been drawn to do this thing. It's been the reason for a lot of my other travails, or it's almost like you can see what has led you to this moment, and the ways in which your errors and maybe someone else's errors have actually been arming you for the future. Like you can see, and that the ways that you learned these lessons were productive, that you would not have been able to learn them in any other way. I feel like that's a lot of what it is. So in a way, it's like you're released from this judgment that has been calling for you, that you've been ignoring. Yeah, there's a healing. It's like you don't have to feel chased around by something anymore, because you're actually just facing it now. You're like looking at it. And I feel like that's what you were praying for, without maybe knowing that's what you're praying for, is that there's a release. Because you are following the path that you were meant to follow. You're letting that little tug lead you. Yeah, I think it's leading you to a place that's still in the distance, but that is it's definitely a new vision of faith, I think, as well, that things can sprout up from other things in ways that are not rational. That there can be growth out of, it's like real things, real physical things can come out of strong emotion or something, or can come out of, it's like a belief in transfiguration or something, which sounds a little obscure or oblique or something, but there's something about faith strongly here, and that one thing can turn into another thing unexpectedly or surprisingly. And that it's time to have humility about that, and to gather your knowledge. Yeah, I'm getting sort of a reinforcement of what I was feeling here, that like you're looking at your path, and not only are you looking at what has led you to where you are, to this realization that kind of comes up all of a sudden, but that you're able to use that to move you into the future. There's still a decision to make, but to me, this doesn't even feel like a difficult decision. This feels like you know what you need to do and you're going to do it. And that is going to lead you to an unburdening and just to a new start, a new, something very beautiful. I'm looking at the Ace of Cups, which is one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's just so beautiful. I'll give you a little, I don't know how beautiful it is there, but it's an offering, you know, and it's just, it's new life is what it is. So yeah, that's pretty gorgeous. Yeah, and it relates back to this same image I was seeing of like a tree growing on water is what was bringing me to that transfiguration idea. You know, it's like, oh, a tree can't just grow on water. There must be some distant land there, but it almost feels like, it's like the land is so distant that you can't see it, but it almost feels like what's more important is that the tree is just growing up out of water. You know, like there may not be a basis in firm fact or reality for the way you're feeling, but that is still producing like very real new growth. And I feel like the water and the Ace of, the bottom of the Ace of Cups card is really reinforcing that this new thing that's coming up for you, this new life, in a way, is coming out of this emotion that may not seem to you to be super grounded in fact or in recent history, but it's real. So that's how I feel about that. You may have to turn over something else and something else in order to fully follow the dictates of this new life, this new thing. You may have to end something else. And you may not be certain you're ready for it. You know, even after sort of having this joyous moment, it's sort of like this, the Tower and this Ace of Cups feel sort of similar to me in that the Tower comes upon you all of a sudden old structures fall away, and all of a sudden there's this new life that's offered to you. But I think maybe because both of these things are so sudden, you may have a moment of doubt mid-month or whenever. You may have a moment of doubt even after your elation at being released from this old thing and at having this new thing presented to you. You may have some kind of just backing up off of it because it just seems like too much. So you may have a moment where you just feel like you want to turn away from it all. Like you're still kind of holding the cup is still there, but it's not, it's like you are not allowing yourself to look at how rich it really is, because you're scared. So careful of that. Be careful of that, because that could lead you to being unjust to yourself and to others, to communicating with other people in a way that is not going to serve you or your best interests. So do what you can to open your heart to that. I mean, and, give it time if it's, because it's scary to be presented with something all of a sudden that feels very powerful. But I would say let it soak in for a while. And I don't know, I don't usually try to give like advice about like how to work with the cards. It seems like maybe this is just the flow of it. To me, I feel like I just trace the flow of the events. But I would say here, no, I'm not even going to say that. But be careful. I feel like there's a distinct possibility of like you having this kind of swelling new sense of the world and then being scared of it and backing off of it. And that might lead you to acting wrongly towards someone or saying something that you will later regret. So just be aware of that. But it seems like there's still going to be a new beginning. Like that there's still going to be a stake planted in the ground that's going to bloom into something that's going to grow, because there's just so much energy here for just new movement, like new water. So that's gorgeous. Yeah. So whether you manage to turn this communication around or whether somebody else does, I feel like it's still just going to be a positive. That there's a positive coming for you from this situation, and that that's really funny. That it involves, or like, it involves you turning your old value system on its head. You know, what you used to think made you worthwhile or worthy or useful as a person or something that gave you the right to exist or whatever, that you, what used to hold up maybe thinly as like, well, this is why I am worth it, is all that is turned upside down. You don't need it anymore. And because I feel like maybe it's because you accept that about yourself or somebody else accepts that about you, you are able to give more fully. You're able to show someone your entire self, your true self. And it's like the very thing that you've been afraid of makes you unlovable or something, or makes you irretrievably flawed, is the thing that you are able to bring out into the open and have and trust that it will be received. It's like you're able to begin a conversation that is going to lead to a protective space and home for you. Yeah, there's stuff going on here. I mean, it's not all perfect by any means, but and there's definitely stuff in here that you may not like. There's definitely stuff about yourself that you don't like, and there just you may not be entirely in control of the circumstances, but nonetheless, this is a blessed space that's opening for you to be able to kind of open yourself completely in a way that you haven't been able to do before, because you can be truly seen here. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing for January 2015, Pisces. It's a lot of energy to work with, but it seems like you, first of all, you're up to it, and it's time. And second of all, it just seems like it's really leading you to a very positive place. So I hope that is useful. I hope it's helpful. And please post in the comments and let me know whatever thoughts you have on that. Thank you so much for watching, and have a happy and healthy new year. Thank you. Bye.